Belichick, dude, this is RamView.
It's hot out there. Let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, Los Angeles.
Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Tarosian, and this is RamView, the June 15th, 2024 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues? Get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And of course, by Granite Ridge Christian Camp, a place where your life can change. Yeah, we're going to talk Ram stuff here and other stuff, but I came across the Bill Belichick thing, dating a younger cheerleader, and I just thought, how much fun can that be? How much fun that be for that girl, right? You know, she's going, where are we going out tonight? And he's going to say, going out? It's 3:30, man. I'm going to bed. I mean, the dude's so old, right? I mean, I just don't get it, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's just funny. I'm sorry. It's just funny. And in some ways, kind of sad. Yeah, I don't know what a guy his age, why you would have interest in a girl. Well, I could figure one reason, but I mean, sometimes you got to talk. Sometimes you got to hang out, right? Okay. Hey, guys, this is Saturday's show. I was busy, my day job as a minister, we have these district assemblies every year, and I got to be part of that. And my meetings, like I did at the beginning of the week, all day, all night. And so I hope you got to see the brief mention that I would be doing the Saturday show. And so I'm pumping this one out. Will not be long. I'm surprised I got a couple of visitors there. You guys can throw some questions up real quick here. Today is also my 33rd anniversary. So I'm going on the road with my wife this weekend. So I won't even be in the pulpit, and I probably won't be on the air on Monday. And so if I do get a chance to go on the air, I will, but I don't know if I'm going to, because I'll be on the road home on Monday. So thank you for joining us today, and for everyone that's joined us. It's been great having just all this interaction. So not a whole lot to talk about regards to the Rams. I did see the clip on the pick is in, and I'm surprised, and again, maybe it's because of my newspaper background. There are just dead periods, right? And when there are dead periods, you look for anything. In fact, when all the schools used to have to go through the football schools used to have to go through their dead period when we were covering high school football, the first 3 weeks of August, it was just down. You're always looking for stuff. In fact, I used to schedule my vacations the first 3 weeks of August because it was down, and we'd write our regular columns. We talk about the NFL and other things, but our bread and butter was prep football at the Mid back in the day, and you just found yourself looking for anything to write about, right? That's when you come out your preseason top tens and blah 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 and all those things, and I just everyone's getting all amped up about the pursuit of Brock Bowers in that The Pick Is In documentary, and I saw that part of the clip, and I don't think the Rams really went after him that hard. I think what they did was what we would call fiduciary, right? If I'm allowed to use that word. They were looking at all options, right? They wanted a guy like that. Yeah, super talented guy. Totally get it. So what's feasible, right? What's feasible? And so, the one thing you didn't hear is that they did take no for an answer. You didn't hear a counter, well, what would it take, right? At least I didn't. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that happens someplace else. But if you want somebody, you give up 2 draft picks and Jared Goff, right? And you keep the contract because you want Matthew Stafford. That's when you want somebody. When the Packers wanted John Hadel, they wanted him, right? So they gave up all those draft picks to Don Klosterman. And because of that, a trade like the Klosterman heist of the Packers way back when, and there have been other trades, every GM has to do their due diligence, be fiduciary. You got to do your responsibility. I just didn't take it as I'm seeing on some of the boards that, man, the Rams went hard, and I don't know if they went any harder than they had at any other time, right? Let's see a version of The Pick Is In for the last 10 drafts. You just don't know. And maybe I'm just underreacting or underwhelmed. It's like, yeah, they liked him. It would be like the Rams calling the Chiefs saying, hey, what would it take for Mahomes? Hey, we got Stafford and 2 number ones. And Andy Reid's going to say, well, or Pat Beach is going to say, well, that's not enough. And I don't think we're interested. And then, Mick Snead's going to come back and say, well, what would it take, right? Because they really want Patrick Mahomes. I didn't see that in the Brock Bowers thing. I think they saw a super generational, talented guy that, man, that guy could be there. And we're not going to get a chance to draft a guy like that. So let's feel him out. Let's just feel it out and see what comes about. That's just them doing their jobs. I just did not get the whole workup of that they went hard after him. Right? I don't know. Usually when the Rams go hard after somebody, they get them, right? The one I saw where they're talking to Douglas with the Jets, I got 52 to offer you, and he didn't offer anything else, right? There was no talk about the full complement of picks next year or anything else. And again, it didn't feel hard. It felt fiduciary. It felt like, hey, man, we're going to check this out. We're going to check out all options, which a good GM and a good admin will do. So anyway, that's what it left with me. You don't have to agree with me on it, but that's where it left me. Today, I usually save this for the back end of the show, but today is Cooper Kupp's 31st birthday. A few people think I'm down on Kupp. I'm not down on Kupp, but Kupp is 31, right? He's got 3 years left on his contract, his current contract, which he's been gracious enough to, I'm sure it helps him too, but that he's allowed to be manipulated and restructured. So he's getting 29 rocks this year, 29 rocks next year, and then 27 rocks in 2026, which is 24, 25, 26. That aligns with the Rams Super Bowl window, right? But in 2026, he'll only be a 7-rock dead cap hit. And if he takes a tumble, then there's an opportunity for the Rams to kind of move out of that contract, right, and save themselves a whole bunch of money. As I shared, I really don't care what a player makes. What I care about is what their cap hit is during a given season, because that's what affects you the most. I love Cooper Kupp. I think he's great. But Cooper Kupp begs the question, because a lot of people, just like Aaron Donald, a lot of people are going to be really down in the mouth when Kupp retires or Kupp steps away. And you hope it's like that, right? You hope it's not a case of him getting dealt to the Titans for a 7th round pick, right? Unless that's what he wants. But that's the hard part. That's the first thing you learn in sports, right? When I was a Ram fan growing up, seeing players get old, Harold Jackson was dealt before he got old, right? Jack Snow, like I've shared with people before, I didn't see his best years. I saw his later years, right? I didn't see him catching passes necessarily from Gabriel. My number one receiver in that time was definitely always going to be Harold Jackson. So when they waived him after the 75 season, you understood. I knew, you get it, how he was old. The Shabelli and Cowan and Mack, all those guys, when they retired, it was like you never saw a decline in their play. And I wouldn't have been able to recognize it as a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 13, 14-year-old because I didn't know the game. So you didn't really see, I couldn't decipher the decline in their play or just the fact they were aging and wanted to retire. Ken Iman was great. Why did they get rid of Ken Iman? Well, Rick Saul was better, right? But I didn't know Ken Iman wasn't as good as Rick Saul after 10 years with the Rams. So it was that kind of stuff. The first player that I really saw like, oh my gosh, it's over, was McCutcheon. McCutcheon had 5 seasons. 4 of them were for over 1,000 yards. He ran for 911 in 1975. And even in the postseason against the Cardinals, he ran for 202. He had a little knee issue there in 75. But after 77, I think he hurt his hamstring in 78. I'm not sure if it was hamstring, but I think it was. He only ran for 420 yards in 78. He was gone most of the season. And then in 79, it was like, okay, McCutcheon's back, same old Rams. And it wasn't the same. He lost some of the explosiveness, and that's when Wendell Tyler stepped in. There was still Ellis Peacock there until he kept getting hurt. It was like, I was so happy when McCutcheon threw the touchdown pass in the Super Bowl. And then I was so sad a few months later when they traded him to the Broncos. But he was my first player that you saw decline, right? You saw him go down, and then after that, you become kind of hardened, right? And it just happens. And so I think a lot of people are going to be down in the mouth. But Kupp is 31 this year, which means he's going to be 32 next year, 33 the year after that, and he's got mileage, right? He's got mileage, and he's got injuries, and I still think he could be a great receiver, but it's like that day's coming, right? Speaking of days coming, this just around the NFL and other places, the buzz is Frisco is going to go up to 29 rocks for Brandon Ayuk, and so they're going to pay him. Please do. I hope you do, because he doesn't scare me. He doesn't hurt the Rams. He just doesn't. Whoever the third string backup quarterback of the 49ers is scares me more than Brandon Ayuk. And if it forces them to have to get rid of a Deebo Samuel or somebody else, then good, great. But that's overpaying for a guy that you can replace. I don't know if you could replace a Deebo Samuel. So yeah, please, by all means, give him 29 rocks. Speaking of rocks, Trevor Lawrence got 200 guaranteed rocks with a 5-year, $275 million contract. That's 55 rocks per year. It doesn't really start and doesn't really kick in until 2026. So basically, the Jaguars have made their commitment for the next decade. But when you look at that money, do you still think Matthew Stafford's being paid too much, right? Would you trade Matthew Stafford right now for Trevor Lawrence? I like Trevor Lawrence, but I wouldn't trade him, right? But that's what quarterbacks are getting nowadays. And when we're all upset and we're all uptight about Trevor Lawrence making that much money, think about, Matthew Stafford and the Rams have a deal. Just guarantee that money. And I promise, guys, I'll get to the questions here in a second. Heartbreak. Dolphins must have been watching this show. Those guys, they're always watching the show, ripping me off. They signed Calais Campbell, right? I was kind of hoping that he'd linger out there, maybe take a flyer with the Rams, because Calais got a better chance of getting back to the Super Bowl with the Rams than you do with the Dolphins. They're going to fold like a cheap suit. Just looking at other things, the Madden cover, I don't give a rip. Unless I'm Christian McCaffrey and I've got injury history, I don't really care about the Madden cover. NBA, Dallas stays alive. Okay, I've been kind of disappointed in this series. I was rooting for Dallas. Boston looks like they'll wrap things up real soon. Stephen A. went off on Caitlin Clark and Donald Trump for some reason, because I've seen so many campaign ads with Donald Trump and Caitlin Clark. Very, very racist remarks by Stephen A. Smith. And then you hear the KBM like Stephen A. And, I heard another guy talk about how Harrison Butker made a boob of himself. Just the last thing I just want to say is the KBM doesn't speak for America, right? They speak for a sliver, right? They speak for a small sliver. And honestly, Stephen A's just doing what ESPN wants him to do, right? There's just no credibility there with any of these guys. And so I just say to you again, just don't be overwhelmed by what these people say. Your life will be a whole lot better, than to be overwhelmed by what they say. So I'm Joe Terozzi, a sports writer for 21 years. I was one of the founding guys at Mid-Valley Sports. They're still in the room. They cover the Chargers. I get to do RamView thanks to our sponsors at Kister Law. And I write books. My books can be found on Amazon. Some of you guys have bought some. I do appreciate it. Keep on buying. Baby needs a new pair of shoes. And I write books, and I do RamView because it keeps me employed in my day job. So I pastor a very small church in Burbank called Burbank Faith Nazarene. And you can find us right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual, as well as burbankfaithvirtual.com. And Burbank Faith Virtual all over Facebook. And so we do appreciate the support. I'm noticing we do have some folks clicked in. Thank you guys for clicking in. USA Expat, good morning. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate you. And right on time. You got Rob Swords, the Steeler fan, Rob in Missouri. Seems like you always go to Gettysburg. Must be something going on there, or you just don't want to go be in Pittsburgh. It's funny. I've driven the length of Pennsylvania. Beautiful state. I mean, it's a beautiful state. Pennsylvania is gorgeous. Historian, just love Civil War history. And when you get to go with somebody who appreciates it, like I've gone with my family and my girls, they just didn't care, but my brother does. And so we do go to Gettysburg. I like the road trip, and hey, Steeler fan Rob, maybe we'll stop in Missouri and, you can buy us a steak dinner or something. That would be cool. But I've never been to Pittsburgh. That's the funny thing. all through Pennsylvania, but I've never been to Pittsburgh. DHP, what is the KBM? The KBM, forgive my language here, but it's the Kiss Butt Media. That's basically my acronym for the Kiss Butt Media, because they're always kissing butt to somebody, and you just can't trust them. That's how I feel. I know I'm removed from being paid to write sports, work in the media, but I know the people I was next to sometimes, and so there's a strong contingent that is the KBM, right? And they just want to be friends with everybody. BioZio, good morning. Thank you for clicking on. Thanks, guys. I appreciate everyone clicking on. Was I wrong about Cooper Kupp, right? Do you sense the end coming with Cooper Kupp? I'm kind of sad that it looks like that's where it's going to be going forward here. I did want to look at the Rams a little bit in terms of their roster, and it's just a brief touch on here. Again, bringing up Cooper Kupp, right? Bringing up Cooper Kupp right now with the wide receivers. You hear a lot of buzz about Jordan Whittington, right? And that's kind of exciting. And so, he's a 6th round pick. And if the Rams end up getting clicks out of Jordan Whittington, and you think about this, Cooper Kupp was a 3rd round pick. Puka Nacua, a 5th round pick. Demarcus Robinson was a free agent. They moved off. They signed Tyler Johnson, free agent. And then there's a lot of talk about, Drake Stoops, Xavier Smith. The Rams just do such a great job there at receiver. And I think Tutu Atwell will end up on another team, even though I am an Atwell fan. I definitely think when you think of the Rams receiver situation, and then again, I've said it before, Nacua plays a game that's very physical, and he's going to get banged up. I definitely see the Rams. I think wide receiver is a spot they're going to look hard at next year, along with cornerback. It was cool to see that article. I don't know, where did I see it? It was a link somewhere on Davis Allen, and that he's playing well. He's making good strides. That's fantastic. And you think about Allen, there's another 5th round pick, right? Another 5th round pick. And if they get clicks out of him, that's awesome. Colby Parkinson's playing well. And I've heard Hunter Long is back. I don't have a read on Hunter Long. If anybody knows anything about Hunter Long, it would be great to know. And again, the other name that's really kind of sticking with me right now, and I haven't heard too much, and I guess because you don't hear about offensive linemen, it's a good thing, is Bo Limmer, the 6th round pick out of Arkansas. And if he can develop into that backup center, maybe he jumps Mike McAllister, the other practice squad guy. But Rams do need that. That is an interesting battle, him and McAllister. McAllister's been with the organization for a year now. Limmer comes with a little more credentials. McAllister played at Youngstown State. Limmer played at Arkansas. So just something to think about in terms of who makes this roster. And yeah, I haven't given up on Logan Bruss, but you look at this room, they drafted Warren McClendon last year, right? KT Leviston this year, and AJ Curry is still floating around. Noteboom's still there. I think it could be tough for Logan Bruss to make this roster. And I think those are the ones I just wanted to hit on real quick. As we come up to the 20-minute mark, this is probably where I was going to wrap this puppy up, unless you guys had some questions. Real quick here, looking at this day and Ram history. It is Cooper Kupp's 31st birthday. We wish him well. Turning 56 today. Is it 56? Yeah, I think he's 56. Former Ram fullback Tim Lester, early 90s. Remember Tim Lester, Eastern Kentucky? He turns 56 today. Tomorrow, since we're not on the air, is Frank Corral's birthday. Frank Corral will turn 69 mañana. And Frank Corral, first game with the Rams, kicked that winning field goal against the Eagles in Philly. I thought they kind of burned him out more because they made him do double duty. But when he left the Rams after 4 years with the Rams, his career was over. And it seemed like it ended kind of quick. It was funny. There were times where it was a big game, you could trust him. And then other times he just missed, like a couple of missed extra points in the playoffs, that one in the Super Bowl. But Frank Corral, very active in Rams community, good dude, signs autographs. Good for Frank Corral, good man. Also, former Ram, now retired offensive lineman, center and guard, mostly center with the Rams, Austin Blythe. He turns only 32 today, but remember after he left the Rams after 2020, and the Rams didn't draft the greatest player they've never had, was Creed Humphrey. Austin Blythe had signed with KC, and then they drafted Creed Humphrey, and he was on the bench. And then 2022, he went to the Seahawks, was their center, and then ended up retiring after that. I don't think they offered him a contract. And then on Monday, June the 17th, born in 1923, he'd be 101 years old, is Elroy Hirsch. He passed away a number of years ago. A great player, just one of those names, was iconic Rams that you do remember, and something to keep an eye on in terms of just history-wise. Yeah, you hate for these guys to be forgotten, but Elroy Hirsch was pretty special. Charles Dejournay, 1952, he turns 72. Craig Dahl, former safety, North Dakota State, he turns, 49? Is it 49 or 39? He turns 39 on Monday. And then former UCLA tight end Corey Harkey, who gave the Rams about 5 seasons from 2012 through 2016 as a blocking tight end. He retired. He bounced around. I think he's coaching now. I think he's coaching in Buffalo, but he turns 34 on Monday. There was something that did come up from one of our folk talking about if you were going to do a Rams Mount Rushmore, and you know what? I never jumped into that, but if you guys want to jump into a Rams Mount Rushmore, our sponsor, Paul Kistler, actually shared with me his Rams Mount Rushmore, and it'd be curious to know what your guys' is. And you could drop them in the box or send them to me, and we could talk about them when I get back on the air next week. But Paul Kistler, our sponsor, his Mount Rushmore for the Rams is Aaron Donald, Marshall Faulk, Eric Dickerson, and Orlando Pace. Wow, so he goes a little more modern with his. His honorable mention is Deacon Jones, Kurt Warner, Jack Youngblood, and Cooper Kupp. Another Kuppite, right? He's very big in Cooper Kupp. I thought about my Mount Rushmore, and I think, it's tough because you could all put all defensive linemen, right? You could put Aaron Donald, Jack Youngblood, Merlin Olsen, and Deacon Jones, right? You could do that, and you'd be fair to say, right? And everything. Can I have a defensive Mount Rushmore and an offensive Mount Rushmore? Yeah, I think that's the route I'd want to go. Give me a break here. There's too many good guys. And then where do you put, Elroy Hirsch, Hall of Famer, Tom Fears, Hall of Famer, Isaac Bruce, Hall of Famer, Harold Jackson, who should be a Hall of Famer, right? Cooper Kupp, who's had a Hall of Fame type career, something to think about. There we go. Let's look at these questions real quick before we wrap up. Biozio, yes, 2 more years of Kupp. Fits the window, right? 24 through 26 is the Rams window. That's when that interior of the offensive line is all booked. And this is where they're getting Stafford at. And so the Rams definitely see this these next 3 years as a window. USA Expat, when is the next Behind the Grind? I watched the last one 10 times. I do not know. It seems, my problem with Behind the Grind is just when you start watching them, I kind of like them to build up a little bit so I can watch them back to back. And then you watch them, and then you're like, God, when is the next one going to drop, right? It kind of sucks you in. USA Expat, Rushmore is like the Ring of Honor or Ring of Fame. The thing about that is I heard somebody talking, it might have been Henry Yep, who was the Rams photographer in the 80s, and he's pretty connected in the Rams community. Because the Rams share a field with the Chargers, they said the Rams would never have a Ring of Honor at SoFi, which seems ridiculous. You got to find a way, right? To have some kind of banner or something that lists it. You can't get everyone in the Hall of Fame, and you can't retire everybody's number. But man, you got to have a Ring of Honor, right? Or something like that, right? I just think you just do, right? Okay. I think we're good. Are we good?
It was a stone groove, my man.
It was a stone groove. Let's see. Biozio, Deacon Jones, Aaron Donald, Marshall Faulk, Eric Dickerson. That's so interesting because along with Kistler, you're mentioning Marshall Faulk. And I think a lot of folks, Marshall Faulk's easy to forget because he's not an original Ram. He was with the Colts at first, and then he retired before the team came back home. So he's kind of in that weird crevice there. Maybe not for St. Louis Ram fans, but I think in general for Ram fans, he gets forgotten. And I think what they forget is that how great of a player he was. And then that was the great discussion I think we had 2 weeks ago. Who do you take? In their prime, Eric Dickerson, who I think might have been the greatest running back ever in his prime, or do you take Marshall Faulk, who might have been the most complete running back of all time? And I know people are going to say Peyton, I saw Peyton. Peyton didn't have the gears, the next gears that either Dickerson or Falk had, right? And I know there's other running backs in there, but when you just saw Marshall Falk's complete game, and then you saw how Marshall Falk wound down and kind of became kind of a mentor to Steven Jackson, right? And he took his role, right? USA expat, Dickerson over Falk every time. I'm not going to argue with that. And Falk played in an era where he was used as a receiver. Dickerson could catch the ball, but, I just don't know. You look back now, there just wasn't that vision with the Rams in the 80s to really utilize him. And that's what you got to appreciate about the era we're in. Okay, Biozio and USA expat going at it. Falk was MVP. That's a great thing about having what's his name? How do you say it? Not Matthew Stafford. Sean McVay, is that McVay just utilizes everything. Let's see, USA expat. Falk was also unlikable. Yeah, I think both players had moments where they were not necessarily Mr. Cool, right? You read Dickerson's book Up in Smoke or See My Smoke, and it's like the dude's a little bit whiny. He makes choices and it's everyone else's fault. But I'm not going to argue about his talent. Falk was the greatest football player on the planet for a couple of years. Yeah, I get it. We could go all day, guys. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, I've got to hit the road here. It is 8:15. So thank you for hanging out. If you have questions, Dano, if you retire, why is the guaranteed money not forfeited? There's a really good reason for that. I don't want to go too long on that, but that's just so you can't you can't give that player the money. They're happy, and then it's off your books. So there's just some guardrails in there to make sure teams don't abuse it and stuff. So I really think that's where it falls into. Probably a better explanation forthcoming than the one I just gave you. But teams could just give a bunch of money to a player, and he goes, "Oh, he's retired." Okay, player gets their money, right? And then the team just gives more money to somebody else, and they just try to keep it under some wraps. Although the way the salary cap works and how it can be manipulated, how many times as Ram fans have we gone into a season and see, well, the Rams only got $2 million in salary cap, but then they do a little bit of this, so they do a little bit of that, and zippity zam. You know what? Next thing you know, they've got their guy, right? And so there's a lot of flexibility within that camp. All right. Thanks for the question, Dano. USA expat, Biozio, DHP, all you guys, expat, everyone who's clicked on, Steeler fan Rob in Missouri, all you guys, thank you for clicking on. If I can see you Monday, I'm going to see you Monday because I enjoy this. If not, I'll see you on Wednesday. All right, guys. God bless. Take care. And we will see you